Good morning. My name is Jeremy Van Loo, and we have some special guests this morning from Wawasee Community School Corporation to kind of highlight some things that happened last year and where we are this year for this upcoming school year. And right now we have Dr. Steve Troyer, our Superintendent of Wawasee Community School Corporation, in the studio with us. How are you doing?
Good morning, Jeremy. Doing well. Glad to be back with you again, and looking forward to the opportunity to chat with you some more.
I think the last time we did this, it was in the TV studio, and we both decided it's a lot easier to do it here in the radio studio.
I would agree, and I think the last time we talked about this as well, I at least admitted I have a face for radio, so that works out well for us.
Well, it's a foregone conclusion, no doubt about it, that this guy has a face for radio. That's why I've been in it for so long. All right, well, let's get to it. So you were the new guy in the superintendent position last school year. After the first of the year, Dr. Eddington retired. And when we had that conversation the last time it was in the TV studio, you had a lot of goals, a lot of things that you wanted to accomplish out of the gate. So tell us a little bit about your goals and how things are going.
Well, I'll tell you what, it has been a busy and eventful last 7-8 months. To be quite honest, it's hard to believe that it's been that long since we got together and chatted. I think we were probably together in January or so, somewhere right after the first of the year, and things have just flown by. There's been so much work that's been done, in addition to the normal operations of school. Stepping into a new role in the middle of a pandemic has been a challenge. Trying to do all this with a little bit of a short staff from our central office perspective has added layers of difficulty, and just trying to navigate kind of uncharted waters. It's been tough, but we've had a really good kind of introduction period, I guess, into that first 6-7 months, and I'm feeling a lot better about where we stand now. Having gone through that time period, I'm excited about the outlook for our coming school year. We're going to spend a little time today talking through some of those things. We've got some really good people in place, which we're really excited about. We're looking forward to getting things going with our team here at Wawasee. There's just a lot of good things going on, and we're really looking forward to an upcoming year that has people optimistic, and I'm glad to be able to say that. The last year, year and a half actually, has been tough, and people are ready, more than ready, to get back to normal, whatever that new normal looks like. I would say we're probably not ever going to get all the way back to normal, to what we were pre-pandemic, but they're ready and eager for things to settle down and just get back into school again. So we're looking forward to that coming year with that optimism and just having some freshness and newness in the atmosphere, I guess. And it's something that our whole team has been talking about for months now, and they're really excited about. So that's a cool thing. To address your question, I guess, which I haven't yet, but
I was going to get there. That's okay. I knew you'd get there.
To address the question, some of the goals, we set a pretty comprehensive plan coming in when we started in January. Put together what we called an entry plan at the time, which took us from January, actually pre-January, really December, through the first 6 months into June. And during that time, we spent a lot of time really kind of getting deep into the organization, into the school district, talking to people, listening to people, learning as much as we could, and then really use that information to start putting together some planning, some longer range planning that goes out beyond that first 6 months. And so that whole process was very well thought out and planned and put together intentionally. And I'm happy to say that it's gone about as well as what we would have expected or imagined that it could.
Now you had short-term goals and long-term goals, correct?
Yeah, and really the first 6 months, those goals were pretty short-term. I guess there were some really short-term goals about some things I wanted to accomplish and get just in terms of learning, some of the day-to-day operations of the school corporation and getting to know our people and that kind of thing. But really, all the goals that we set, in the December, January timeframe, really focused on getting us through that first 6 months. And what were the things that we wanted to accomplish from a learning perspective, so that we felt comfortable to really evaluate and say, this is where we're at and this is where we need to go. And that whole process from January to June was really all about that, discovering and identifying and then being real about, hey, this is where we're at. And now we're in that stage where we're getting ready to start putting together goals that we have for the next 2 to 3 years. So moving from a 6-month time frame into a multi-year time frame here, that's what our planning has been about this summer. That's the work that we're doing with our leadership teams that are in place, and we're really excited about it. We think the outlook at Wawasee is absolutely great. We have lots of reasons to be optimistic, and we're excited about this planning process that we're kind of in the middle of, at the beginning of, and we'll continue on through the fall as we are putting together our plans for where do we want Wawasee to be. The 6 months prior to this has really been about where we are currently, and the next chunk of time, the next 6 months or so, probably through the fall and towards the end of the calendar year, are going to be really about identifying where do we as an organization want to be, what are some goals that we have, from the different aspects of our operations, and where do we want to land, and where do we want to be at in 2 to 5 years as a school, and how do we want to be serving our community in ways that are better than what we are doing now. That will be the focus as we move into this kind of second phase, this post-entry phase of the work that I'm doing, and in bringing together our whole kind of district level leadership team and bringing them into that process, along with the board, of course, as we begin to identify what do we want Wawasee to look like in 5 years from now, and how can we be a model school corporation for those of us around us to take a look at and really begin to look at us as something that they want to emulate themselves. So that's our goals and intentions as we move into the second phase, so to speak. But we're really excited about it, and there's some good things on the horizon.
So that's the goals, and anybody will tell you can set goals. They just don't happen overnight as a rule. Yeah, you've got your short-term things, but things take time. It takes people. It takes all of that. And in a world, in a society that we live in today, where we want it now, I'm glad to hear you say that. We have this plan, but it's going to take a little time to get to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right about that. It does take time, and I think part of the process that is really important that sometimes gets skipped over is the amount of planning for what needs to happen on the front end as we begin to work through those details and the development of that change. we're a big organization. We've got approximately 500 employees. We've got around 2,800 students. Like, this is a big ship, and in order to get this ship turned around, it takes a little time to maneuver and run through some of those change operations. And so it's really important that on the front end of that we put the processes and the plan together to orchestrate that change and to make sure that there are steps that we can evaluate where we're at along the way, because it's easy to get lost when you're talking about that big of an organization. It's easy to lose yourself in terms of what is a priority and what may be a secondary issue that that's important but maybe not the biggest issue that we have to tackle, and we just have to be really diligent about building some of those metrics in that we can evaluate ourselves, and that we can, make sure that we're on the right course. So that's part of this process.
Well, and you mentioned the word pandemic a couple times early in this interview. You're not using that as an excuse to not do anything. The ship's got to keep going, right? Pandemic or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that's been a real challenge of the last year.
Sure.
Actually, I would say that many of the school corporations that I'm in contact with, their superintendents, they kind of took the same approach in the last year that we did, and that was, we need to really back off of kind of some of the secondary issues and focus on what's most important. So for us in the last year, what's most important? Taking care of our kids, making sure that their needs are met, focus on the most essential academics, because that's what we had time for, and that's what people were able to give in the middle of an ongoing pandemic. We're to a point now that we're ready to move forward again. Part of being in a big school corporation, and not that Wawasee is the biggest corporation around, but we're still a big organization. Part of that is, we're constantly changing. We're constantly updating and going through professional development cycles and trying out the latest programs and best practices and this and that. We've had to take a step back from that the last year because of all the concerns and the work that was related to the pandemic. But as we look forward to this year and beyond, we're ready to kind of re-engage that part of the process, and we're really excited about that. It's just that we haven't done a lot of that for a year, and so trying to re-engage folks back into the professional development side of the work that we do, so that we can be the best that we can be for our kids and for our community, is just an additional piece to the puzzle that we have to consider that hasn't been a challenge for us before.
Well, and I think that you said it, that with the pandemic was to make sure that we were taking care of our kids. We were educating them to the best of our ability. I think here a little bit later on in the program, our new assistant superintendent, Dr. Wilfong, might be discussing, questions that people might have out there. Where are our kids? What level are they at because of this last year and a half? So we might address that, But the good thing is we were in school for the most part last year, whereas a lot of schools in the country weren't. So I think we really focused on that.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate that, how important that was with our staff. Our staff was incredible during the last year. The fact that we were in school 5 days a week, we basically missed almost no time. Our elementary schools weren't shut down for a single day during the school year last year. The middle schools were shut down for 1 week, and the high school was a couple weeks. If I've heard nothing else repeatedly over the last 6 months, it's been thank yous from people in the community, from our parents, that have been appreciative of the fact that we were open, that we did provide that education for our kids, and people are really grateful for that. And that's a testament to our staff, to our leaders, to the work that our group has done here at Wawasee to make sure that we have been able to provide that service to the community.
All right. Well, that's segment one. We've got a couple more questions that we want to tie into that. So when we come back, we'll get to that. And maybe that'll take up another 14 minutes or so of your time. But if not, we might bring in Dr. Wilfong in and bring her into the conversation.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right. We'll be back on 93.7 FM, The Mix. We're back with Dr. Steve Troyer, Superintendent of Wawasee Community School Corporation. And I think, Dr. Troyer, where we want to go now is in that first couple months of you being superintendent, you traveled throughout the different communities and held those meetings where listen and learn kind of meetings where people could come and hear your goals and what you set out to do. But then you gave them the opportunity to tell you a few things that they wanted you to know about. So what did you hear? And were you able to act on any of those things in this first 6 months?
Yeah, that's a really great question. That first couple months, we did a lot of listening and, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of learning as well. We had community meetings in 4 different spots. Obviously, Wawasee is comprised of 3 different communities, 3 distinct communities, I might add, all with different needs. And it was really good to get into the communities and just hear what people were thinking, especially with a big change in leadership. It was an opportunity for people to just tell us what was going well and what needed some focus. And that was a really cool opportunity, even in the middle of a lot of the kind of height of COVID and some of the COVID protocols. It was important for us to get out in the community and to hear people. We took all that information and compiled it into a State of the School report that I gave in March. And from there, we're using that information then to help drive. I talked about in the first segment, kind of our change initiative here in identifying what do we need to take a critical look at here over the coming years. One of those things that kept coming up, pretty frequently is for us, it's really important that we continue to communicate as well as we can. That's part of the reason that doing things like this, getting on the radio and talking and letting people hear directly from us kind of what our priorities are is really important, because people just want to hear from their schools and they want to know what's going on. So they want to be connected. We have continued to try and increase our social media presence. We're continuing to bolster some things with our website. But really, one thing that we're really trying to do, and we've heard over and over and repeatedly is highlighting the things that we're doing well, that are cool, going on in the school corporation. We've started here recently something that we're pushing out on our social media called Mission Moments. And it's when things happen and we're able to capture those and tie them to our vision and our mission statement, as well as our belief statements. And we're pushing those out on our corporation Facebook page. I'm tweeting them out. And it's just something that celebrates some of the good things that are happening. We've also been really working with our principals to capture some of those things as well and use their communication channels to push that out, because people want to know the good things happening here in our schools. And the schools are at the heart of the community, and so many good things are happening, and we want to highlight those. And
there's so much negative out there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with the pandemic, but there's so much negative. We are hungry for positive.
Yeah, I would encourage, if people aren't connected with our social media platforms, that they do so. You can find the corporation. We have a Facebook page, Wawasee Community Schools. I think all of our buildings have individual building pages as well. And I'm also on Twitter and trying to make that a go-to point of communication for us. My Twitter handle is at Wawasee Sup, SUPT. And you can find me there and follow me. We're just trying to get as much information out. Over the last year, we've kind of dialed in our use of other communication platforms, mostly to Parent Square. We're trying to reach families that way, and then our website is a big one. But we just want to make sure that we're being diligent about communicating with people. So that was one of the things that came through loud and clear in that conversation. I'm also really excited to continue to see where our enrollment goes. We identified that as one of our big issues that we've been dealing with, one of our big challenges. And it's looking positive. Things are trending the right direction for us. So I'm really excited about that. We've had registration going on this past week and are seeing some positive things coming out of registration, and we'll be looking forward to seeing where things end up at the middle of next week for the start of school.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of those things that you heard from the community members are part of maybe worked into those longer term goals and what have you. So, but you hit a couple that I know that I personally heard on the couple of the meetings that I was at. So
yeah, absolutely. One of the exciting things that came out of that, after the state of the school, we started sitting down with our stakeholder groups that were kind of decision makers in the school corporation and saying, okay, how can we go about now addressing a lot of this data that came in? And so throughout the spring, we met with our administrative team and started to identify some things that were really critical for us as we moved into the summer. We met with our ACT committee, which is a representative group that helps guide decision making related specifically to assessment and curriculum and teaching, but also I would say it's a bigger committee than that. Involves some parent stakeholders as well, and so we were working with them to identify some important points for us as we use that data from the Listen and Learn tour to begin to make some adjustments. And then a really exciting thing that we did over the summer is we brought in a facilitator to help lead this conversation with our school board, and we started to take a look at evaluating our vision. We updated that. I'm excited to announce that next week at our August board meeting, we'll be adopting hopefully a new vision statement for the corporation. And we also identified some priority areas that the board said these are some things that we really want you as leaders in the school to focus on. And we're going to be sitting down with our team here to develop some action-based goals for those priority areas, and really that whole improvement process and improvement cycle it's exciting. It's stuff that I think all of us as leaders start to get fired up about as we begin to look to the future and really identifying how do we, I've said it before, how do we grow and improve and get better.
You mentioned summer a few times. Central office is open for business during the summer months, correct?
That is correct. We've had a very busy summer, to say the least.
And of course, not only are you guys in the office during the summer months, but there are other staff members and in some cases students during the summer months. So tell us a little bit about the summer school program that we finished up in June, and another program called Eco Challenge that I've been involved with ever since Kim Gwynn had got that started years ago. I get to work with those kids, so highlight a couple of those things for us.
Yeah, this summer was really cool from a programming standpoint for us. Of course, last summer we weren't really able to offer much program. We ran a summer school program a year ago, but we did that in August. So this year we got back to our traditional summer program, but we really enhanced it. We're going to talk about learning loss here in probably the next segment, but one of the things that we wanted to address as well as we could was some of our kids just lost time in the classroom. And so we expanded our summer school program this year to be as comprehensive and as large as we could put together. I think we served 300 plus students in the summer program. We offered a section per grade level, per building at the elementary level. We offered probably 20 classes at the high school level between virtual offerings and in-person offerings. Typically, our high school summer program isn't much in-person. It's more virtual. But this year, we did a lot of in-person. So it was really cool. It lasted a little over 3 weeks, like 3.5 weeks. It was a 17-day program. Typically, we run a 15-day program. And there were so many staff members that were involved. It started the day after Memorial Day and went on for 17 days and finished towards the end of June. So we were really excited about that program. The other thing that you alluded to was the ECO program. That's something that we ran in July. It actually just finished about a week ago. And it's really cool. We focus on transition grade levels. So fifth graders that are transitioning to sixth and eighth graders that are transitioning to the high school, where we identified some students who really just need some help getting through that transition. They can earn some high school credit at the high school level. As they make that transition, it just helps them, get credits as they come into high school. But really, the program is most about making connections and building relationships with kids. And we have loads of fun activities that the students are involved with. I went down one day. We went fishing with a group that was down over here on the lake. And I know that you've worked with them on some different projects. We try and bring in some CTE related content and experiences for them. It's a really cool program that allows us to connect with kids that maybe wouldn't naturally make those connections. And we're excited that we could offer that again this year, because it didn't run last summer because of the ongoing pandemic. This year we were able to make it work. And it's always a fun time working with that group of kids.
There was one young man. I went to the Elkhart County Fair to see ZZ Top, and of course there's some bad news that happened out of that. One of the guys died, but after the fact. But anyways, as we were walking in, one of the eco kids was there with his mom to go see the concert, and he said, "Mr. Van Loo, I was pretty quiet in that when I was there with you, right?" Yeah, he says, "But I want to tell you how much fun that was," and he got to hear himself on the radio, and he just thought that was a really cool thing. So, that could be a turning point, of getting them introduced to the high school and see all the cool things that we have here. It's just, I've always enjoyed working with those kids that week.
Yeah, it's a fun experience for them, and I think all the teachers and all the volunteers that work with that, and we have students actually, some of our upperclassmen help out with that program as well. Everybody gets something from that program, and it's cool that we get to provide them experiences that they would probably never get to experience, certainly in the summertime. But just like the fishing situation that I talked about, there's a couple of those kids that have never been fishing, and just something in this community, with water being such a big part of our community, and some of those students haven't had those experiences, and so it's fun to be able to offer that to them.
Yeah, and I'm sure you had fun, because I think you like to fish, don't you?
Absolutely, I like to fish, and I didn't get skunked that day. I did catch a fish. It wasn't the world's biggest fish, but it was a good time.
Yeah. All right. Well, we need to make a formal introduction, and this is going to be quick because we're coming to the end of our second segment, because I think in this next segment between you and Dr. Shelly Wilfong here, we're going to talk about this upcoming school year that's getting ready to start. So who do we have sitting in the studio with us, young man?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to introduce our new Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Shelly Wilfong. And she is just getting started. She joined us July 1st, and we want to officially welcome her to the Wawasee team. Shelly?
Thank you, Dr. Troyer. It is very exciting to be here, and I can't wait to get started and meet all of the teachers.
Yeah,
It's my understanding she's no stranger to the NLC, to this area.
that's correct. She and I were actually together in Middlebury numerous years ago, I guess at this point, and she also was at a school corporation south of us. So.
In the same county, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's correct,
Yeah.
yes. She was at Warsaw as their chief analytics officer before joining us this summer.
Yeah.
We were assistant principals together at Northridge High School a number of years back, and we're excited to be reunited. So.
And you're a Goshen girl, I hear, right?
Yes, I've lived in Goshen all of my life, and that's where I started my teaching career.
Okay, so we're excited to have you in the studio, and I think when we come back, we'll talk about the topics for this upcoming school year, where Shelly fits in on that, and COVID, a little bit about that, and so forth and so on. So we'll be back with more about Wawasee Community School Corporation here on 93.7 FM The Mix. Welcome back again in the studio, Dr. Steve Troyer, Superintendent of Wawasee Community School Corporation, and our new Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Shelly Wilfong. So, Dr. Troyer, we're right around the corner. School's getting ready to open up. Students are coming back August 12th, although August 11th, we've got something going on.
Yeah, absolutely. First Teacher Day is August 11th.
Yeah.
We start at 10:30 in the morning that day. We're doing a district kickoff event here at the high school, and then teachers are going to be getting ready for kids coming the next day. One thing that I do want to highlight and make sure that people are aware of, we have back to school nights scheduled in all of our buildings, 4:30 to 6 on the 11th. So that Wednesday evening, 4:30 to 6, you can visit schools and just become familiar with those. If you need to walk around, teachers will be in the buildings. You can meet teachers that evening if you desire, and just get familiar. But yeah, we start on the 12th, and we're going to be back at it. Our first of 180 days as required by the state of Indiana. We're looking forward to it. Teachers are excited. I was just at Milford here earlier today, and there were a number of teachers in the building just working, getting ready in their classrooms. They're excited, looking forward to getting kids back. And this time of year is always an exciting part of the year. It's nerve-wracking. It's busy. There's a loss of sleep on behalf of our staff, but they always enjoy welcoming kids back to the building. And I will tell you that our kids usually look forward to nothing else other than getting back and being reunited with their classmates and their teachers. For many of our kids, school's the best part of their day, and they really enjoy being here. And so they're excited too to get back. We'll start to see that as kids are filtering in, parents are filtering in through registration processes that are happening. We've done in-building registration this past week, as I think alluded to earlier. But it's just good to see people. It's good to see them after a couple-month break, and they're ready to get back at it. So we'll start.
Real quick on registration. Is online registration still open now?
Yes, online registration, I believe, is open until the day before school starts.
Okay.
And so people can get in there. The big thing is in making their adjustments in Skyward, our student management system, so that we have all the correct information, so that we know you're planning to attend school.
Yeah.
That's a critical piece. But yeah, it's open. It's on our website. There's a pop-up that pops up right when you go to our website, and that's available. So if you haven't been there, please go to the website. You can log in into Skyward and start making those updates and adjustments for the coming school year.
The website is wawasee.k12.in.us. All right. Well, we're coming to school. Kids are coming on the 12th. COVID-19 protocols. There's a lot in the news about that right now. There was mention of what we were going to do, and why don't you tell us all about that?
Yeah, so one of the things that's important for people to know is at the end of June 30th, I believe, the governor's mask mandate expired, and as such, the governor gave authority to local school boards to make decisions about what was best for their school corporations. In July, at our regular July board meeting, the board did approve that we would be able to go to an optional mask situation or environment for the coming school year. So optional means that it's up to the families or individuals to decide for themselves whether they wear a mask or not. Now, I will tell you, since the July board meeting, that some of the numbers with COVID have ticked upward, and so the CDC came out here in the last week or so and gave a recommendation that they recommend that anybody that's in schools is masked up independently of vaccination status. Certainly not all of our students are vaccinated, and for that matter, not all of our staff are vaccinated. We are planning and continue to plan to stay at an optional mask school as long as we're able to. We value what the CDC says. They made obviously a recommendation, but we still feel like at this point that if we're given the decision-making authority on the issue, that families can make that decision. And so we're planning to be optional unless we're told that we can't be optional. If there would be a mandate from the state or from the county health department requiring masks, certainly then we'll have to take a look at that time, but we're hoping that we can stay optional on the mask front, at least for right now.
And as you're hearing this on a Saturday morning, this is actually being recorded on Tuesday, August 3rd. I only remembered August 3rd. I'm trying to look for the date, but wait, it's my wife's birthday. So as of August 3rd, Tuesday, this is where we stand. And I bring that up in the event of a mandate that would come between now and the time that this airs on Saturday.
Yeah, correct. And I actually have a meeting later this week with the county superintendents. We're getting together to just make sure that we're on the same page. For right now, all the county schools are handling the issue the same way. So I'm hopeful that we will be able to continue that. I think it helps when the schools are on the same page regarding big issues, especially like this. The bottom line is we feel pretty strongly that that we're making the right choice, and we want to be able to leave health decisions to families if we can. Certainly, if there's a mandate issued outside of our decision-making control, then we have to comply with that. That was the case last spring, by the way. I took many phone calls about the mask issue, and we were operating under a mandate from the governor. And we're a public school, we're a public entity. We have to follow the regulations of the state and of our county. But when we're given the ability to make a decision, we feel like we've made a good decision for us. And I should add, we have ran those decisions by and consulted with our local health department. So the Kosciuszko County Health Department has, up to this point, given us their blessing to be mask optional, and we hope that we can continue in that capacity.
In the next segment, we'll have our new athletic director, Brent Doty, in with us, and of course, athletics was affected by last year's COVID-19 protocols and so forth and so on. So we'll hit on that here in just a little bit. All right. Well, thank you very much on that discussion about mask and COVID. That topic of discussion that we just don't want to talk about, but unfortunately we have to. So, Dr. Troy, you've been talking quite a bit here on the microphone, and we have this young lady over here, our new assistant superintendent, Dr. Shelly Wilfong, with us, and I think it's time we let her talk a little bit. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
She's been waiting. All right. So, Dr. Wilfong, learning loss. There's been a lot of folks in the media and here in our own community talking about, with kids being home virtually and a lot of schools around the world that didn't go at all. I mean, I don't begin to understand and know what everybody did, but can you hint on that a little bit where what maybe worldwide, but then how that relates to here specifically at Wawasee.
Yeah, thank you. Learning loss is definitely something that we do need to take a look at, but it's also important to understand how it has impacted students throughout recent history. We are fairly new at this whole idea of having a long-term disruption in schools. However, across the world, there are many countries or areas of the world that students have had long-term disruptions to their education. And research that has been done on those typically find that students, after a couple of years, they make up that loss relatively quickly. And so academic-wise, the important thing to keep in mind is that we meet students where they are right now. The pandemic experience for our students is very diverse. We have some students who've been extremely impacted by the spring shutdown, not this school year, but last school year, having to have more virtual time during last school year. And then there are other students who haven't really had much of an academic impact. So it's going to be extremely important for us to examine where each student is and meet their academic needs where they are.
Is there a plan put in place on how to do that?
Yeah, one of the things that we are really going to emphasize and focus on this year is restarting our professional learning communities so that we have teams of teachers working together from the same grade level or in the same subject area to really dive into what the essential standards are, how they're going to teach those standards, and then how to assess those students to find out who needs additional work and who needs enrichment in those areas. And so by creating this structure, we will be able to help each student either with skills that may be lacking, or help them challenge them in different ways if they already have those fundamental skills.
There was a group of us adults that were having this discussion around a campfire, believe it or not. Are colleges and universities saying, okay, these kids are graduating high school, at least they met that criteria, but maybe there was a year gap there. Are they recognizing that and doing anything different? I know that doesn't directly relate to our school corporation, but it does kind of, because we are sending our kids to colleges and universities. So have you heard anything about that?
Oh yes, most definitely. Colleges have been impacted tremendously by the entire pandemic, and they've had to modify a lot of things that they have done in the past. One of the items that's a dramatic change, a dramatic shift from the past is the emphasis on just looking at test scores going into their freshman year of college. Now colleges have had to take a more holistic view of the whole body of work that a student does to see if they're going to fit in with that college or university. So not all of the changes are necessarily bad, because a lot of people would say that looking at a well-rounded student is very important in the success of a student in college. And also, the college professors that I've talked to and some universities have said that they're going to really have to take a look at where the students are socially. Where are they as far as being able to use technology? We've had a huge leap in technology use, and students understanding and using technology for academic purposes. And so the colleges are going to be able to carry that on as well. And so they are having to adjust some of their instruction. Most definitely.
So we're all in this together, as they say, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a couple minutes here. So, Dr. Troyer, I asked the last couple questions. You got a couple questions for her?
Oh, goodness. Dr. Wilfong was hired to be in charge of our curriculum and assessment and data, which she really is passionate about. And I told her earlier that she may want to steer away from talking about data because most people aren't fired up about data, but she has a way of firing people up about data. What is one thing that you're most looking forward to as you start with Wawasee in that realm, in the assessment and data realm, that you feel like you can bring to us, which will help us?
One of the big things that I'm really excited about is helping teachers and teams of teachers really hone in and focus in on those essential standards, making sure that we have a guaranteed and viable curriculum for their students. Helping provide that focus will help us to be able to provide the type of academic supports that students need that are having some challenges academically, but also to help those students who are really good students really become really great students and challenge them wherever they are. So again, being able to use data and assessment information in efficient and effective ways in order to do this is really exciting.
Cool. I also would be remiss if I didn't give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about your favorite furry companion. I believe his name is Ike.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about Ike?
Yeah, so Ike is my dog, and his full name is Ikegai, which means your purpose or the reason for being. And he is a dropout therapy dog. So he is too excitable and he's too friendly to be a therapy dog. So I had to get the lecture from the therapy dog trainers that all dogs have jobs, but not all dogs are cut out to be a therapy dog. So he's my therapy dog.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I also think one other cool little fact about Dr. Wilfong that you may not suspect, she is a Colts season ticket holder and diehard. She loves the Colts.
Yeah, go Colts.
Who did you love before the Colts came to Indianapolis, though? Because I was a Bears fan. I still am.
Yeah,
a Bears fan.
I really like the 49ers and old Joe Montana.
Okay.
So
okay, we'll give you that. As long as you didn't say Minnesota or Green Bay or something like that.
No.
Green Bay.
Yeah. Well, hey, Dr. Wilfong, thank you very much for talking to us today. And, of course, as a staff member, look forward to working with you on curriculum development and all of that fun stuff that we're going to do a lot of focus on here in the next few months and years.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, coming up, we're going to keep Dr. Troyer here and bring in our new athletic director, Brent Doty, to talk athletics here at Wawasee Community School Corporation on 93.7 FM, The Mix. Welcome back to our fourth and final segment of this upcoming school year, Wawasee Community School Corporation 2021-22. And we've had Dr. Troyer here, Dr. Wilfong, and now our new athletic director, officially, of Wawasee High School, Brent Doty. How you doing, Brent?
Good. How you doing?
We're doing great. The last time I was with you was aboard a school bus with a baseball team, and we went down to
Belmont.
Yeah. And was looking to take home regional title, and it didn't work out that way. So have you had a little bit of time to ponder that and think that whole season through, because it was a pretty exciting baseball season?
Right. Yeah. It was a great opportunity for our kids. You know, having won the sectional, and we got to host the sectional last year, and to be able to win that, and it had been 25 years since Wawasee had won a baseball sectional, so it had been a long time, and really exciting for our kids that we had that opportunity. Then to go to Belmont, and we played well. You know, had a lead early on. We played a tough team, and you know, our kids competed hard and played well, and I thought we had a good chance to win the regional, but just came up a little short. But again, cool opportunity for our kids, and one they'll always remember.
So, now that you're the athletic director, you have given up the reins of the baseball coaching job. I'm sure that's a little bittersweet.
Yeah, a little bit. You always want to continue on and continue to see some success that you've had from the previous year, and having missed out in the previous year with COVID and the spring seasons getting canceled, we were looking forward to that season as well. But yeah, it's a good time to change. I think it was something that I had looked forward to in the future for me as a professional career move, and I'm excited to get the opportunity and have the opportunity to start and help not only baseball continue to advance, but our other sports, whether it's fall athletics, winter athletics, or the other spring sports. So I'm excited for this new AD role, and really excited to get working with our coaches and our players.
Okay, so Dr. Troyer, we had some pretty big successes in our athletic program last year. You wanted to bring that up here today. We talked about baseball just now, so do you want to tag me on that one? And
yeah, absolutely. This past school year, actually right after I became superintendent, I met with Coach Stuckey, and he told me, he's like, it's been a long time since we won a sectional championship. And we talked through that. We had some good conversations about that. But I saw him at the end of the school year after we had had some success, and I reminded him that since he told me that, we had won 3 sectional championships.
Yes.
With our baseball, softball, and wrestling winning a sectional championship this year. So it was really exciting. And every time I see him, I bring that up and just nudge him a little bit to make sure that I remind him of that. And I hope that he hears this interview, so he'll get another little taste of that as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's all in good fun, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
you had a successful all-around year in athletics last year, even though we had the COVID-19 pandemic issues, especially on the front end.
Yeah, I think honestly, our athletics is at a really good spot. We're almost to that point where I think we're about to hit our stride and hit our peak. We have some really good young classes coming in. We have great coaches. We have great athletes that are coming out, practicing hard, competing every game. And I think we're at that jump-off point, as some young kids might call it or whatever. But I think we're there. We're going to start competing in conference pretty consistently, and we're always going to be competitive at the sectional level too. So I'm excited to see where our athletic coaches take us and our athletes make that next step, hopefully in the next couple of years.
What kind of questions do you hear from community members, Brent, about our programs in particular? Do you ever get the question like, should we be in a different conference?
Yeah, well, I've actually heard that a couple times since my interim role last year, and then taking over now. And that was a conversation a couple years ago. I remember as the baseball coach, as maybe my first or second year, that was a discussion like, do we want to go into a different conference or and look at some different options? Because there were some available, a couple years ago, 5-6 years ago, I think. Personally, for me, I think we're in a great spot. We are a smaller school in the NLC, but that conference allows us to be prepared for sectional success. We're going to play bigger schools throughout the school year, throughout our regular season. So when we get to tournament time, we're ready for those challenges that come along with the high intensity, a lot of focus that comes with the IHSA state tournament. So I think we're in a great spot. It's gonna be tough to win a conference championship in any sport. Being the smaller school, when some schools are double our size, it makes it a little more difficult. So I think we're in a good spot. Love the NLC. It's great competition. And then locally to play teams, the West Nobles, Fairfields, Tippies, those schools that are going to get us ready for sectional play as well, who we're going to see potentially down the road in the tournament. So I think we're in a good spot. I wouldn't suggest or push that we move out of the NLC anytime soon, because it's a great conference, great competition.
So we're going to talk about the upcoming school year and the scheduling of fall, winter, and spring sports. But you're now the third athletic director since I've been working here. This will be working my seventh year. And so we were talking with Dr. Troyer earlier in the show about a lot of goals, short-term, long-term goals for the school corporation. I would assume in this new role, this new position, that you probably have a few of those yourselves for athletics, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I've kind of mentioned it a little bit. We're going to try and be as competitive as we possibly can, whether it's a regular season game or a sectional, whatever it might be. If we were fortunate to move on in the state tournament, like regional, semi-state, stuff like that. Obviously, you want to be competitive, but wins and losses aren't the only thing. We want to continue to help teach kids. We're an extension of the classroom. We're going to teach kids how to be prepared for when they step outside of Wawasee High School and be prepared for the real world. And I think you can do a great job of that through our coaches, through learning discipline, time management, all those things that tie along to athletics. So we just want to continue to be that extension of the classroom, continue to work with our athletes so they're prepared when they move on, to a profession or to college, so we can be prepared. So being competitive, getting our athletes ready, and then I think the third goal for us would just be continuing to build our community relations. We had the Warrior Open. I think that was a great outing. Had the community out. They're very supportive of us. We want to show the community that as much as they're supporting us, whether it's coming to events, attending the Warrior Open, sponsoring the Warrior Open, stuff like that, we're going to show them that we want to support them as well. Whether we give back to communities and we go and to their businesses and use their supplies or purchase items from them and stuff for the athletic department, we want to show that we're supporting them just as much as they're supporting us. So again, community outreach. I know the baseball program has done community service project in the years past. I want our coaches to hopefully build on that and continue to do stuff like that so we can reach out to community as well.
Yeah, and Brent, you brought up the Warrior Open. We had an unbelievably successful Warrior Open here just a couple weeks ago. Would you talk to us just a little bit about that, how that event transpired? It was a little bit of a cooler, rainy day, if I remember right, but very successful. Lots of people attended, had fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great event. You had a ton of sponsors that really help out, that help put on the event, whether it's donating money or their time or resources that they give to the athletic department so we can develop that. Max Welton Golf Course does a great job of hosting all those events. They shut down the course for us for the day and allowed us just to go out and compete and have fun. I think we had 43 teams total, which is a great turnout compared to years past. I know COVID dampened that a little bit in previous years, but 43 teams of 4 guys going out and trying to compete and most importantly have fun and enjoy their time playing out there. But yeah, it's a great event. We had morning flight winners in second place. We had afternoon flight winners in second place, and then a couple long drive and closest to the pin winners as well. So yeah, it was a really cool event, and like I said, the community coming out and supporting us and us giving back to the community and helping out that way. So it was really fun.
And that's your biggest fundraiser of the year, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's the one fundraiser we try and push as a whole athletic department. Our coaches go out there, they sit at the holes, they get to talk to the community members, they get to learn from our community members what they like to see. Maybe they give them a few pointers here and there, but I don't know if the coaches listen a ton, but I'm sure they do, and take some pride in listening to our community members and hearing what they have to say as well.
I'm sure the men coaches listen. It just goes in one ear and out the other. I mean, because we're pretty in tune to be able to do that, at least with my wife anyways. I don't know. Okay, you mentioned it's not just about the wins or the losses. It's life skills.
Yeah.
Athletics. I wanted to throw that out there because personally in my classroom we talk about that a lot. There's a lot of kids that aren't going to end up on this microphone, maybe in a professional role, but communications. No matter what, is a life skill that everybody needs no matter what. And even athletics, there's a lot of different life skills that are had.
Yeah, absolutely. At some point, you're going to most likely end up working for somebody, and that ties very closely to athletics, I think. You have to treat your coach kind of as your boss, and you're going to listen to what he's asking you to do or she's asking you to do, and that's only going to benefit our athletes as they go. So if there's anybody out there that has a son or daughter that isn't going to compete in sports, but they're kind of thinking about it, I'd encourage them to just come try it out, as if you're a freshman or sophomore, and try and see if you enjoy that sport. And hopefully that's a life lesson that gets taught to you through athletics, and you get to develop that as you go out into the real world and have a job or go to college and develop your career. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for our students that we have here.
Well, and I really like the fact that he had said earlier that athletics is an extension of the classroom. So much of not just athletics, but extracurriculars in general in our schools is that it's the practical application of the things that they're learning in school, which is so cool. Not just academically, but Dr. Wilfong had mentioned earlier the social and emotional components that come along with teaching our students how to get along and how to work together and how to be collaborative. That all plays itself out through athletics and through our extracurricular programs, our music programs, our theater, our clubs, all those different things. That is a true extension and a true application of what we're trying to accomplish here as our primary goal in our schools.
We in this program here, I cannot teach live sports broadcasting during the school day because we're in class. So we do football, we do basketball, and so we can teach in the classroom some fundamentals, but the only way to practice it, as you were just saying, is to, put that on the air. Mm-hmm. And that leads me into, of course, this upcoming school year and this athletic season. Of course, football right around the corner. Once again, we'll be broadcasting all the home and away games right here on 93.7 FM The Mix, and all home games as well on our YouTube channel, CPG-TV. Bill Dixon and Coach Kaz Zeinel's back this year.
Oh, nice.
So a little preview on the fall athletic schedule this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're getting ramped up for that. Actually, it started today. Our girls' golf team kicked us off with the Huntington invite. They finished 9th. I just got that information back today, actually. So, it's cool that the athletics is starting up again after a little break over the summer. But, looking forward to fall. Football, volleyball, tennis, soccer, unified flag. If you've never been to a unified flag football game, you got to come out and watch one. Those are super exciting events and really fun. Then you got cross country, girls golf. I don't think I've missed anybody. I hopefully did not.
Yeah.
But we're getting excited.
Well, you mentioned you got to come out. Yeah. So a year ago, that wasn't really what we were dealing with, correct?
Right, yeah. We weren't telling everybody. We were kind of, unfortunately, having to tell everybody to stay away because it was very limited last year.
But as of now, and again, I preface by saying it's August 3rd that we're recording this for Saturday's broadcast. They're open to come see these contests.
Yeah, correct. So, like you said, as of now, full capacity. We're open. We kind of delved into that in the spring towards the end of the school year. It kind of opened up. And we were able to not have to limit our spectators, which we had to do in last fall and last winter. So this fall, again, we'll be back to full capacity, hopefully, and you can purchase your green and gold cards again this year. We didn't have that opportunity last year, so come on out and purchase a green and gold card that gets you access to any of our athletic events, and you can come out and cheer on your Warrior athletes as much as you want this year, hopefully, and hopefully that continues.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Dr. Troyer, the floor is yours. I think this is about time to wrap it up.
Yeah, again, just want to say thank you, Jeremy, as we get started for this school year. I'm really excited for Brent and his team as he's come on into the mix as the full-time athletic director. There's really positive things happening, not only with the athletic department, but in the high school in general, throughout our whole school corporation. We're really looking forward to this year. And there's some good things coming. So there's a lot, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, there's a lot to be optimistic about. And we've got some really great people here. We're excited to serve our community, to work with the kids that are here, and are looking forward to all the things to come in the 21-22 school year. Hard to believe that we're saying that, but it's upon us for sure.
All right. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Brent, good luck in your new position here at Wawasee High School.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And Dr. Troyer, good luck to you with working on your goals and in your new position. I mean, it's still fairly fresh and still fairly new for you.
Yeah, still fairly new. I think they said I get a year before I can before I have to stop calling myself a newbie. So I've got a few months left of that, and We'll look forward to reconnecting again down the road, and hopefully giving an update to people and making sure that, as I said earlier, we're staying on top of the communication and that people know what's going on.
And if anybody would have any questions about anything related to Wawasee Community School Corporation, what should they do?
I think probably the best place to try and find information is on our website or our social media platforms. And if all else fails, call us. We're available at the central office. Our folks there are more than willing to help and answer questions. We can track down information for you and really help in that way. You can also reach out to any of the schools. The folks in the offices at each of the buildings are more than willing to pick up the phone and answer any questions that you have. So please reach out to us if you have trouble finding any information or just need some help.
All right, Dr. Troyer, thank you very much. Real quick, one quick reminder of back to school night is August 11th. That would be Wednesday night, right?
Yep, Wednesday, August 11th, 4:30 to 6.
Take your kids to the buildings, and especially the freshmen that come in. It's always fun to say, I don't know where I'm going. Where's my classroom? So take advantage of that, and be on the lookout for the school buses that'll be back on the roads again with their amber lights and their red lights and their stop arms a-flashing. I know the police departments are going to be out looking for people who are driving past those stop arms.
Yeah, be really careful about that. We've got our buses out early. We are going back to our traditional starting times. So last year we started a half an hour later in each building because of the pandemic things that we had to deal with virtual education, but going back to the traditional start times, so buses will be out just a little bit earlier than they were last year. Be careful. That's a great reminder as we get started on Thursday.
All right, Dr. Troyer, thank you very much, and thank you for listening. The 2021-22 school year is upon us.